Which one of you said, is Mom reading BL fanfiction? Mom is not reading BL fanfiction today. We are having a nice meal first. We're going to have a nice meal, and then we're going to read a story. We're going to read a story together, okay? But we are not reading BL fanfiction today. Am I being clear? Am I being clear? No BL. No BL. No BL. This is yes, we'll have a little bit of a mukbang today before we get into our story. But right now we're gonna, read. We're gonna have our food. I prepared a nice meal. We've got some pasta with tomato, veggies on it, and then we have over here, a nice little hearty vegetable soup with mushrooms and carrots and green beans in it. And there's our soup pot. We got more soup if you need more. And we also have our turtle bread. And of course, for our water, for beverage water, we have water for our beverage. You don't like vegetables? Okay, there we go. It's turned down. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to hurt your ears. It's down. I turned it down. Okay. Well, let's first let me say, it's a pleasure to have you here today for our lunch, and I'm just, I'm so happy you joined me today, my little troopa. Is it filtered? Oh, yes, filtered by the finest Brita at Walmart. It's only the finest for you, my little troopa. You know that, right? I only give you the best. No. Story time with Mom is, happening. Where's the wine? We're not going to have wine. It's 1 p.m. in the afternoon. You can have wine a little later, but not yet. The finest Alex Jones filtered water. Yes. The finest Alex Jones filtered tea. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, son. You're welcome. Welcome, Troopa. Date night with Mom. See you later. No. This is lunch. If anything, it would be a lunch date, not a night date. But yes, it's time. No, it's not time for wine. It's not time for wine. We're not going to be having wine yet. It's 6 p.m. there. Can I have some wine? Drink on your own accord. Can I get some hot sauce for my pasta? No, don't put hot sauce on your pasta. That's absolutely disgusting. That is disgusting. Glad to have you back. Hello, Nanashi. Hello, Sprongle. We're not going to be having fluoride in our water today. Because, that turns the frickin' frogs gay. I'm telling you, make fun of me all you want on CNN or whatever. But they ain't frickin' human. They ain't human. Not human. Turning the frickin' frogs gay. Okay, now, let's see, can you stop touching? I'm not doing anything. It's evening somewhere in the world. Okay, you know what? That's fair. Let me just do my Jesus mind powers and just go. There you go. Your water has been turned into wine. But yes, let me. Fine. I'll get you some actual wine. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll go off to the kitchen. Okay. What kind of wine do you want? What kind of wine? I mean, what are your tastes? Go, be quick here, because I've got I gotta get back. I feel like my food's gonna get cold. So what kind of wine do you want? What kind of wine? Come on. White or red? White or red, or a port? I think it's a Merlot, perhaps. I don't have a port. Is a port a Merlot? Is this fine enough? Come on. You're breaking my balls here. What about a Sauvignon? Sauvignon Blanc? Sparkling water? Blood red? Oh my goodness. Okay, wait. It turns out that the water... let's see. What am I looking for again? What am I looking for? What did you say you wanted, like sparkling water, or was this like? Did you say you wanted Kool-Aid? Okay, a white Chardonnay. Okay, well, Okay, what? Wait. I don't have a rose, but I have I can kind of take some vodka and then pour some pink lemonade in it. Is that okay? Let me just see. Let me check again. Let me check again. Okay. Let me see. What about? Wait. No, maybe it's under here. Let me just go under the cabinet. Okay. Let's see. Oh. Well, I'm not really seeing much, so instead I just brought you back some water. Is that okay? Is water okay? You're not allergic to water, are you? Right? You can drink water, right? Turtles can drink water. Water. You have water. You can drink the water. It's fine. It's fine. It's good. It's good. Wait. I think let's see. I've got. Okay, I poured it into this teacup. It's kind of brown. But don't let that, turn you off from it, okay? Don't let that turn you off from it, because it's still going to be good. And actually, this isn't a teacup. This is like a soup cup. But I poured it in there anyway. But yeah, it's just a little aged. A Monster White. Oh, no. No, sweetie, you can't have that. You're not old enough to have a monster yet. You're not old enough for that yet. But maybe one day. Can I have a Monster White? No. Chicken nuggets. Oh my gosh. No chicken nuggies. No nuggies. I'll give you the chicken, but not the nuggies. Did I collect the water from under the fridge? Well, here's the thing. The fridge has been dripping out a lot lately. And it's the same water that the fridge filter uses. It just drips out and onto the floor. So I figured what I could do is I could put a bucket in front of the fridge, and then we'll collect the water that drips out of the fridge so we don't lose any. And then we can drink that water. Because I think it's the same as the water from the... let me be quiet. The children are asleep. I think it's the same as the water from this faucet in the fridge, I think, at least. But let's get back to it. How was your day, darling? How was your day? Why don't you tell me all about it? Come on, tell mama. I'm not trying to poison you. It's the same. It's the tasty fridge water. Okay. So yeah, tell me how was your day? What'd you do today? What have you done so far? Yes, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's why you should lick doorknobs, even if it's illegal on other planets, okay? Lick the doorknobs, even if it's illegal on other planets. Day's been okay. That's good. That's good to hear. Yes. I am very environmentally conscious. I just, what I do is with the glass bottles from the wine, instead of recycling them, what I just do is I chuck them off the back deck into into the trees. And then, I think the glass eventually just evaporates with the rain, and then it just becomes one with the ground because it goes back to being like sand. I mean, that's correct. I think that's correct, at least. But yes, you intentionally ignored your reps. Oh no, but that's okay. That's okay to slack for one day. Reps. The pain is unbearable, just barely. Oh no, mommy milk later. Okay, maybe. Let's see. Oh. Let's see. But I'm glad I'm making your day better. That makes me smile. You're just so cute. You're so sweet, Trooper. Oh, no. I'm not trying to make it clean again by licks and stuff. No. Never. You hate sand? Why'd you hate sand? We're gonna go. Maybe one day we'll have enough money to go to the beach. One day. It's gonna happen one day. We'll go to the beach. And, you'll get to, feel the sand in between your toes, and it'll get in all the wrong places. Yes, everything is going to be okay. Anyway, let's dig in, okay? Itadakimasu. Or, as the Japanese say, thanks for the grub. Umida! Yes, we can go. Umida! Anyway, so be sure to eat up your veggies and get big and strong, okay? Come on. Yeah, let's just, start digging in. We'll just, start going. Come on. Oof. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. I didn't have any silverware because I think like some sort of gremlin stole all of our good plastic silverware out of the trash where I usually keep it, so we have to eat with our hands or our mouths. So just kind of like pick up the plate, and just go, just kind of like. There we go. Yeah, you're getting it now. Would you like a sip of your wine? Your wine? Isn't it good? Can I try a sip? Can I try a sip? Oh, Jesus, I drank it all. I'm sorry, I drank it all. Oh no. I'll get you some more. Later, okay? I'll get you more later. Anyway, yeah, why don't you have a sip of water too? Oh, that's very... Internet kiss! No, I've never had one of those before. No, internet kiss. No internet kiss, okay? Oh, the $2 wine from Aldi's. Don't worry. Next time I'll spring for the $3 wine. Okay? The water tasted funny. It shouldn't taste funny. Just, keep drinking as it is. There's nothing funny about that water. There's nothing funny in it. Do you think Mommy put something into the water? Do you think that? I would never. Never, ever. Oh, bagged wine, boxed wine. Fun fact, did you know boxed wine is actually more expensive now than the cheap wine in the bottles? So, technically, boxed wine is the fancy wine. I've never had boxed wine because I think it's too expensive. So I just get the cheap bottles. So, yeah, that's a little too rich for our blood. A little too rich. Fortuna would. But Fortuna's not here right now. Or she's not here. Fortuna can't hurt you. She's not here. She's not. You look like you've seen a ghost. Yes, how times have changed. Now the box wine is really expensive, and actually there's like some fancy brands now putting their wine in boxed wine just because of the hipster appeal. At some point, the god-awful hipsters took over the boxed wine, and they decided, oh, well, boxed wine is going to be, the hipster thing, the fancier thing. Oh, think of the environment. Think of that, because it's so much more, environmentally friendly. But yes, the hipsters took over boxed wine, and they decided, oh yes, it's the trendy thing. We're just so hipstery. We're so poor with our, Urban Outfitters $50 jeans and my Tommy Bahama vintage shirt from eBay that I got for $100 because we're hipsters. Why not? So hipsters ruined box wine, and now it's expensive. That's why Mommy gets the $2 and $3 wines from Aldi's. And it's much cheaper. Although it only lasts a night or two. I can never know how long a bottle of wine is supposed to last. Brandy is still cheap. I have to remember that. Whiskey is safe. I don't know if whiskey is safe. I mean, if you get the cheap kind, I guess. Yes, hipster culture is super cringe. If you want to check out something that, highlights hipster culture and will really make you hate them more, I would recommend checking out the video Williamsburg Street Fashion. Don't look into the rest of the channel because $1 Million Extreme is it is not aged well. However, some of the older videos still hold. But just watch Williamsburg Street Fashion, and it will explain everything you need to hate because, there's so much. Plastic bottle bourbon, also plastic bottle rum, or plastic bottle vodka, or plastic bottle, Irish cream. I almost got Irish cream to make a dessert the other day, but then I thought if I get the Irish cream, I may end up putting it in my coffee. And I really shouldn't be having alcohol at 12 p.m., you know? I really shouldn't. So I decided, for the better, I should probably not get it, even though it would make a delicious dessert. I should make a rum cake sometime. Would you like a rum cake, Troopa? Rum cake I could make. Oh, and I'm thinking of. I mean, I do have fun. And I do have some wine. The wine out. I should not be getting the wine out. No. Okay, we're getting to the fairy tale part. Okay, is it wrong to like Soylent? Yes, it is, because with Soylent, it is primarily corn and all other corn, soy, and other garbage. It is absolutely the worst for you. In fact, let me bring up the Soylent ingredients so we can talk about this. Let me look up Soylent ingredients, and then we will get to our story time, because it looks like you mainly cleaned your plate. So just give me a minute to bring this up, okay? So here are the main ingredients in Soylent. Thank you very much, Viridian, by the way. The Fortuna lady promised me chicken tendies. That's because Fortuna is a god-awful hussy, and she wants to ruin your diet. I don't want you to eat chicken tendies. They're bad for you. They're made with pink sludge. Do you want to eat pink sludge? Do you? It's not raspberry ice cream. It's just god-awful chicken. I don't even know if it's chicken at that point, but it's something. Okay, so now we'll read the ingredients to Soylent. The first ingredient is filtered water, of course. You can't have, that's fine. Then we have soy protein isolate. And then after that, maltodextrin. Maltodextrin is a type of, it's a filler ingredient primarily. And for maltodextrin to be up that high, it's alarming. It doesn't list what the source of maltodextrin is, but it's basically maltodextrin is usually taken from a grain. So maltodextrin is commonly taken from wheat, potato, corn, rice. So there you have. There's one grain up there as the third ingredient in a drink that is primarily supposed to be, protein, like that, protein drink. Then second, we have high oleic sunflower oil. So we have water, soy protein, grain-sourced filler, and then we have sunflower oil. So oil second. Oil, as you know, one of the other ingredients at the top. Here's how ingredients work. Whatever is nearest to the top is what has the most in it. So then next we have canola oil. Canola oil being that high up is god awful, and there's really no point of having oil in your meal replacement drink like that. Why have it? I don't know. It's terrible. Okay, and then right after that we have cocoa powder, because this is the chocolate version, of course. And then we have vitamin and mineral premix. I don't know what that is. Then we have corn fiber. Lovely corn fiber. Corn is actually one of the least digestible fibers, so that's great. Then we have soy lecithin, of course. And then we have cellulose, which is meant to kind of thicken it up a little bit. Soy lecithin, I believe, is also another thickener. I believe so. Then we have gellan gum, another thickener. And then we have sucralose as our sweetener, all the way at the bottom. And it is just absolutely god-awful and disgusting. Now, with the fiber, with the carbohydrates, you have 36 grams of carbohydrates in a 400-calorie bottle. Most of that is primarily from what you're getting from the filler grains to, kind of add a little bit of bulk to that. And then we have also, there's only, out of those grains, you're only getting 3 grams dietary fiber. So keep that in mind. And most of that is, most of the carbohydrates there are nothing that's going to benefit you. It's not even, you can't even say most of the carbohydrates are from sugar, because there's only 1 gram of sugar, 1 gram of added sugars. So that's pretty bad. Now, considering this is 400 calories, let's say from a regular protein powder, you'd have about 200 calories, and you'd get 20 grams of protein, right? 200 calories, 20 grams of protein. Here we have 400 calories, 20 grams of protein. So even from like a regular whey, a cheaper whey, you'd be getting probably about 20 grams of protein at 200 calories. You're getting 400 grams of protein, 400 calories with 20 grams of protein. That's very low for the calories. That is very, very, very low for what you're, basically ingesting. And it's god awful. With the fat, you do have, you're mainly getting saturated and polyunsaturated fat. Of course, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, that's preferable to saturated fat. But the bulk of this is primarily fat. Fat is good for you, but this type of fat, you're getting high oleic sunflower oil and canola oil. Those are not if you're going to use oil especially, I would not go with those two oils. And then of course we have 300 milligrams sodium, which is, that's okay, I guess. Why so much sodium in this? I guess to make it taste better. No, I've never tried this stuff. I never want to try this stuff. I know it is god awful and just absolutely disgusting. So, anyway, we are going to get to our story. Don't you think that, we should get to our story now? This is the strangest story I've ever heard. We are going to get to our story, okay? We're going to get to our story. Just let's you're looking a little sleepy, okay? So let's move over to the couch. Let's get comfy. Can we shoot the 1911 before bed? Of course you can. Just fire off a couple rounds if you want to, and then Mommy will be waiting here, all right? Just, have a good time with it. And I'll be here. Give me 1 minute and we will move over to the couch, okay? Okay, yes, Mom may have a little bit of turtle brain today. Mom may have just a little bit of turtle brain. I accidentally had my mic muted. Let's just ignore that, okay? Yes, the blanket was covering your ears. The blanket was covering your ears, all right? So, let's start off with our longest story for today, okay? Today, yes, it is the $2 wine. It's primarily ethanol. I gotta be honest about that. It's primarily ethanol. Yes, total blanket. You look like a Sith Lord. Yes, you do, my child. No, do it. Okay, instead of reading, we will be reading out we will be voicing the entire ending battle scene of the Star Wars prequel with Anakin and versus Obi-Wan. You underestimate my power. Okay, but actually, we will be reading our story now, and as I said, we'll be starting off with the longest out of it. We will be reading The Little Mermaid Let me take a sip of my tea first, okay? Okay, honey? Ah, that's a little hot. That's a little hot. Ooh. Ah, burn my mouth. But okay, let's start. The Little Mermaid, written in 1837. Far out in the ocean, the water is as blue as the petals of the loveliest cornflower, and as clear as the purest glass. But it is very deep, too. It goes deeper than any anchor rope will go, and many, many steeples would have to be stacked, one on top of another, to reach the bottom to the reach from the bottom to the surface of the sea. It is down there that the sea folk live. Oh, the BGM's a little. Apologies, my little trooper. How's my voice sound? How's my voice sound? Could it be a little louder, or is that good? Yeah, we are reading the actual Little Mermaid, and I have not read these actual stories before, so it will be a surprise for me. And I don't know if you've heard it. You may have read it. All good? We all good now? All good. Okay. Perfecto. Okay. So should I restart, or should I restart? Because we're only a few sentences in. Yes. Mwah, chef's kiss. A little louder. Me? Music name. All of the songs I've been playing today are actually from the lovely game Witch's Heart. I really, really love that game, and I plan on playing it on stream sometime, because it's a very endearing game. Very, very, it can be a bit sad, but I do like all the characters. Except for, okay, I'll restart. Okay. So, here we go. The Little Mermaid, written in 1837. Far out in the ocean, the water is as blue as the petals of the loveliest cornflower, and as clear as the purest glass, but it is very deep too. It goes down deeper than any anchor rope will go, and many, many steeples would have to be stacked one on top of another to reach from the bottom to the surface of the sea. It is down there that the sea folk live. Now, don't suppose that there are only bare white sands at the bottom of the sea. No, indeed. The most marvelous trees and flowers grow down there, with such pliant stalks and leaves that the least stir in the water makes them move about as they were alive. All sorts of fish, large and small, dart among the branches, just as birds flit through the trees up there. From the deepest spot in the ocean rises the palace of the Sea King. Its walls are made of coral, and its high-pointed windows of the clearest amber, but the roof is made of mussel shells that open and shut with the tide. Is it mussel or mussel? I can never know. I think it's mussel, right? Mussel or mussel? Let's see. I will, let me find my place again. Oh gosh, where was it? Okay. This is a wonderful sight to see. It's mussel, okay. This is a wonderful sight to see, for every shell holds glistening pearls, any one of which would be the pride of a queen's crown. The Sea King down there had been a widower for years, and his old mother kept house for him. She was a clever woman, but very proud of her noble birth. Therefore, she flaunted 12 oysters on her tail, while the other ladies of the court were only allowed to wear 6. Except for this, she was altogether praiseworthy. She was altogether a praiseworthy person, so because she was extremely fond of her granddaughters, the little sea princesses, they were 6 lovely girls. But the youngest was the most beautiful of them all. Her skin was as soft and as tender as a rose petal, and her eyes were as blue as the deep sea. But like all the others, she had no feet. Her body ended with a fish tail. The whole day they used to play in the palace, down in the great halls where live flowers grew on the walls. Whenever the high amber windows were thrown open, the fish would swim in, just as the swallows dart into our rooms when we open the windows. But these fish now would swim right up to the little princesses to eat out of their hands and let themselves be petted. Outside the palace was a big garden with flaming red and deep blue trees. Their fruit glittered like gold, and their blossoms flamed like fire on their constantly waving stalks. The soil was very fine sand indeed, but as blue as burning brimstone. A strange blue veil lay over everything down there. But as blue, let's see, oh, I'm sorry, I lost my place. You would have thought to yourself, you would have thought yourself afloat in the air with only blue sky above and beneath you, rather than down at the bottom of the sea. Is everything going okay? Because I can't tell because the chat seems kind of behind, but I will keep reading. When there was dead calm, you could see just the sun like a scarlet flower with the light streaming from its calyx. Each little princess had her own small garden plot, where she could dig and plant whatever she liked. One of them made her little flower bed in the shape of a whale. Another thought it neater to shape hers like a little mermaid. They said the name of the story. But the youngest of them made hers as round as the sun, where she grew only flowers as red as the sun itself. She was an unusual child, quiet and wistful. And when her sisters decorated their gardens with all kinds of odd things they had found in sunken ships, she would allow nothing in hers except for flowers as red as the sun, and a pretty marble statue, the figure of a handsome boy, carved in pure white marble, had sunken down to the bottom of the sea from the ship that was wrecked. Beside the statue, she planted a rose-colored weeping willow tree, which thrived so well that its graceful branches shaded the statue and hung down to the blue sand, where their shadows took on a violent tint and swayed as the branches swayed. It looked as if the roots and the tips of the branches were kissing each other in play. Nothing gave the youngest princess such pleasure as to hear about the world of human beings up above. Her grandmother had to tell her all she knew about the ships and cities and of people and animals. What seemed nicest of all to her was that up on land the flowers were fragrant, from those at the bottom of the sea had no scent. And she thought it was nice that the woods were green, and that the fish you saw among their branches would sing so loud and sweet it was delightful to hear them. Her grandmother had to call the little birds fish, or the princess would not have known what she was talking about, for she had never seen a bird. When you get to be 15, her grandmother said, you will be allowed to rise up out of the ocean and sit on the rocks in the moonlight, to watch the great ships sailing by. You will see woods and towns too. Next year, one of her sisters would be 15, but the others, well, since each was a whole year older than the next, the youngest still had 5 long years to wait until she could rise up from the water and see what the world was like. But each sister promised to tell the others about what she saw and what she found the most marvel on her first day. Their grandmother had not told them half enough, and there were so many things that they longed to know about. The most eager of them all was the youngest, the very one who was so quiet and wistful. Many a night she stood by her open window and looked up through the dark blue water where the fish waved their fins and tails. She could just see the moon and the stars. To be sure, their light was quite dim, but looked through the water, they seemed much bigger than they appear to us. Whenever a cloud-like shadow swept across them, she knew it was either a whale swimming overhead or a ship with many humans aboard it. Little did they dream about what a pretty young mermaid was down below, stretching her white arms up towards the keel of the ship. Keel of the ship? Hands for a tail, Merfolk rise up. She is a humaboo. She is a humaboo. She really is. The eldest princess had her 15th birthday, so now she received permission to rise up out of the water. When she got back, she had 100 things to tell her sisters about, but the most marvelous thing of them all, she said, was to lie on a sandbar in the moonlight when the sea was calm, to gaze at this large city on the shore, where the lights twinkled like hundreds of stars, to listen to music, to hear the chatter and clamor of carriages and people, to see so many church towers and spires, and to hear the ringing bells. Because she could not enter the city, that was just what she most dearly longed to do. Oh, how intently the youngest sister listened. After this, whenever she stood at her open window at night and looked up through the dark blue waters, she thought of that great city with all of its clatter and clamor, and even fancied that in these depths she could hear church bells ring. The next year, her second sister had permission to rise up to the surface and swim wherever she pleased. She came up just at sunset. She said that this spectacle was the most marvelous sight she had ever seen. The heavens had a golden glow, and as for the clouds, she could not find words to describe their beauty. Splashed with red and tinted with violet, they sailed over her head. But much faster than the sailing clouds were wild swans in a flock. Like a long white veil traveling above the sea, they flew towards the setting sun. She too swam towards it, and down it went, and all the rose-colored glow faded from the sun and sky. The following year, her third sister ascended, and as she was the boldest of them all, she swam up to a broad river that flowed into the ocean. She saw gloriously green and vine-colored hills. Palaces and manor houses could be glimpsed through the splendid woods. She heard all the birds sing, and the sun shone so brightly that often she had to dive under the water to cool her burning face. In a small cove, she found a whole school of mortal children paddling in the water quite naked. She wanted to play with them, but they took fright and ran away. Then along came a little black animal. It was a dog, but she had never seen a dog before. It barked at her so ferociously that she took fright herself, and fled to the open sea. But never could she forget the splendid woods, the green hills, and the nice children who could swim in the water, although they did not wear fishtails. The fourth sister was not so venturesome. She stayed far out among the rough waves, which she said were a marvelous place. She could see all around you for miles and miles, and the heavens up above were like a vast dome of glass. She had seen ships, but they were so far away they looked like seagulls. Playful dolphins had turned somersaults, and monstrous whales had spouted waters through their nostrils, so that it looked as if hundreds of fountains were playing around them. Now the fifth sister had her turn. Her birthday came in the winter-time, so she saw things that were like none the others had seen. The sea was a deep green color, and enormous icebergs drifted about. Each one glistened like a pearl, she said, and there were more lofty than any church steeple built by man. They assumed the most fantastic shapes and sparkled like diamonds. She had seated herself on the largest, and all the ships that came sailing by sped away as soon as the frightened sailors saw her there, with her long hair blowing in the wind. In the late evening, clouds filled the skies. Thunder cracked and lightning darted across the heavens. Black waves lifted those great bergs of ice on high, where they flashed when the lightning struck. In the late evening, clouds filled the skies. Thunder cracked and lightning darted across the heavens. Black waves lifted those great bergs of ice on high, where they flashed when the lightning struck. On all the ships the sails were reefed, and there was fear and trembling, but quietly she sat there upon her drifting iceberg and watched the blue forked lightning strike. Each of the sisters took delight in the lovely new sights when she first rose up to the surface of the sea. But when they became grown-up girls who were allowed to go wherever they like, they became indifferent to it. They would become homesick, and in a month, they said there was no place like the bottom of the sea, where they felt so completely at home. Let's see. On many an evening, the older sisters would rise to the surface, arm in arm, all 5 in a row. They had beautiful voices, more charming than those of any mortal beings. When a storm was brewing, they anticipated a shipwreck. They would swim before the ship and sing most seductively of how beautiful it was at the bottom of the ocean, trying to overcome the prejudice that sailors had against coming down to... This bitch is trying to kill him. This bitch is trying to get them killed. Jesus Christ, mermaids. They can't live down there, you dumb bitches. They're doing a siren song to try to kill people, literally murder people. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's see where you Harpies is going. Okay. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, they're gonna kill him. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now, we're gonna continue. So these sisters are basically trying to lure I didn't know sirens and mermaids were the same, but apparently they are trying to bait them into death. Okay. That's fine, I guess. But people could not understand their song and mistook it for the voice of the storm. Nor was it for them to see the glories of the deep. When their ship went down, they were drowned, and it was a dead man that reached the Sea King's palace. The Sea King's palace has a bunch of dead dudes in it. You just be living, you're just kind of living and chilling in the palace, and then all of a sudden a dead guy, floats by, and they're like, "Hey, check his pockets. Maybe he's got a cool watch in there. Take his Yeezys. Oh, he got Timbs on. Take his Timbs." Okay, thank you very much, Bill the Turnip. Ah, sweet death. Maybe one day for me as well. Hopefully not soon, Bill. Hopefully not soon. Okay, thank you very much, and big ups, Bill. Okay, we'll continue. Yes, so dead men flew towards, sunk towards the king's palace. "Oh, how I do wish I were 15, she said. "I know I shall love the world up there and all the people who live in it." And at last she too came to be 15. "Now I'll have you off my hands," said her grandmother, the old Queen Dowager. "Come, let me adorn you like your sisters." In the little mermaid's hair she put a wreath of white lilies, each petal of which was formed from a half pearl, and the old queen let 8 big oysters fasten themselves to the princess's tail as a sign of her high rank. "But that hurts," said the little mermaid. "You must put up with a great deal to keep up appearances." Her grandmother said, oh, how gladly she would have shaken off all these decorations and laid aside the cumbersome wreath. The red flowers in her garden were much more becoming to her, but she didn't dare make any changes. "Goodbye," she said, and up she went through the water, as light, as sparkling as a bubble. The sun had gone down when her head rose above the surface, but the clouds still shone like golden roses, and in the delicately tinted sky sparkled the clear gleam of the evening star. The air was mild and fresh, and the sea unruffled. A great 3-master lay in the view of those, with only one of the sails set, for there was not even the whisper of a breeze. The sailors idled about the rigging and on the yards. There was music and singing on the ship, and as night came, they lighted hundreds of such brightly colored lanterns that one might have thought the flags of all nations were swinging in the air. Gotta swallow some. The little mermaid swam right up to the window of the main cabin, and each time she rose with a swell, she could peep in through the clear glass panes at the crowd of brightly dressed people within. The handsomest of them all was a young prince with big dark eyes. He could not be more than 16 years old. Thank God, I was really worried he would be older than her, like really old, like 25 or something, and I was like, but it's good to see he's 16 and she's 15. That's good. Anyway, It was his birthday, and that was the reason for all the celebration. Up on deck, the sailors were dancing in the air, making it bright as day. These startled the little mermaid so badly that she ducked under the water. But she soon peeped up again, and then seemed as if all the stars in the sky were falling around her. Never had she seen such fireworks. Great suns spun around, splendid fire fish floated through the blue air, and all these things mirrored in the crystal clear sea. It was so brilliantly bright that you could see every little rope of the ship, and the people could be seen distinctly. Oh, how handsome the young prince was! He laughed and he smiled and shook people by the hand, while the music rang out in the perfect evening. It got very late, and the little mermaid could not take her eyes off the ship and the handsome prince. The brightly colored lanterns were put out, and no more rockets flew through the air, and no more cannons boomed. But there was a mutter and a rumble deep down in the sea, and the swell kept bouncing her up so high she could look into the cabin. Now the ship began to sail. Canvas after canvas was spread in the wind. The waves rose so high. Great clouds gathered, and lightning flashed in the distance. They were in for a terrible storm, and the mariners made haste to reef the sails. The tall ship pitched and rolled as it sped through the angry sea. The waves rose up, like towering black mountains, as if they would break over the masthead. But the swan-like ship plunged into the valleys between such waves and emerged to ride their lofty heights. To the little mermaid this seemed like a good sport, but to the sailors it was nothing of the sort. The ship creaked and labored. Thick timbers gave away under the heavy blooms, and waters broke over the ship. The main mast snapped in two like a reed. The ship listed over on its side, and water burst into the hold. Oh, they're gonna die. Now the little mermaid saw that people were in peril, and that she herself must take care to avoid the beams and wreckage tossed by the sea. One moment it would be as black as pitch, and she could not see a thing. Next moment, the lightning would flash so brightly she could almost distinguish every soul on board. Everyone was looking out for himself as best as he could. She watched closely for the young prince, and when the ship split in two, she saw him sink into the sea. At first, she was overjoyed that he would be with her, but then she recalled that human people could not live in the water, and that he could only visit her father's place as a dead man. No, he would not die. So she swam in, all among the floating planks and beams, completely. Turn the page. Forgetting that they might crush her, she dived through the waves and rode their quests until at length she reached the young prince. Who was no longer able to swim in the raging sea. His arms and legs were exhausted, his beautiful eyes were closing, and he would have died if the little mermaid had not come to help him. She held his head above water and let the waves take them wherever the waves went. She's saving him. Don't worry, he'll be okay. Prince Love, we're saving the prince, but everybody else died, I guess. Everybody else died except for the prince. Is that okay? I don't know. At daybreak, when the storm was over, not a trace of the ship was in view. The sun rose out of the waters, red and bright, and its beams seemed to bring the glow of life back to the cheeks of the prince. But his eyes remained closed. The mermaid kissed his high and shapely forehead. As she stroked his wet hair in place, it seemed to her that he looked like that marble statue in her garden. She kissed him again and hoped that he would live. She saw dry land rise before her in the high blue mountains, topped with snow as glistening and white as if a flock of swans were resting there. Down by the shore were the splendid green woods, and in the foreground stood a church, or perhaps a convent. She didn't know which, but anyways, it was a building. Orange and lemon trees grew in its garden, and tall palm trees grew beside the gateway. Here the sea formed a little harbor, quite calm and very deep. Fine white sand had been washed up below the cliffs. She swam there with the handsome prince and stretched him out on the sand, taking special care to pillow his head up high in the warm sunlight. Get some sun on that skin, boy. Gonna get you a tan. Gonna get you a tan. Let's see. The bells began to ring in the great white building, and a number of young girls came out into the garden. The little mermaid swam away behind some tall rocks that stuck out of the water. She covered her hair and her shoulders with foam so that no one could see her tiny face. And then she watched to see who would find the poor prince. In a little while, one of the young girls came upon him. She seemed frightened, but only for a minute. Then she called more people. The mermaid watched the prince regain consciousness and smile at everyone around him. But he did not smile at her, for he did not even know that she had saved him. She felt very unhappy, and when they led him to the big building, she dived sadly down into the water and returned to her father's place. She had always been quiet and wistful, and now she had become much more so. Her sisters asked her what she had seen up on her first visit to the surface, but she would not tell them a thing. Many evenings and many mornings she revisited the spot where she had left the prince. She saw the fruit in the garden ripen and harvest, and she saw the snow on some high mountain tops melt, but she had not seen the prince. So each time she came home sadder than she had left. It was her one consolation to sit in her little garden and throw her arms about the beautiful marble statue that looked so much like the prince. But she took no care of her flowers now. They overgrew the paths until the place was a wilderness, and their long stalks and leaves became so entangled in the branches of that tree that it cast a gloomy shade. Finally, she couldn't bear it any longer. She told her secret to one of her sisters. Immediately, all the other sisters heard about it. No one else knew except for a few mermaids who told no one, except their most intimate friends. One of these friends who knew who the prince was. She had too seen the birthday celebration on the ship. She knew where he came from and where his kingdom was. "Come, little sister," said the other princesses. Arm in arm, they rose from the water in a long row. I gotta take a sip, I'm getting kind of dry. Let me take a sip. Good sippy, good sippy. Hi, how's everybody doing? How's everybody enjoying it? We have, I think, 3 or 4 pages more of this. Dang gossiping mermaids, I know, right? I know! Those mermaids. He got doxxed. Very dangerous and great, indeed. I'm glad everybody is comfy. Let me know if you need to get more comfy, okay? Let's see. Okay. It was built of pale, glistening golden stone with great marble staircases, one of which led down to the sea. Magnificent gilt domes roses above the roof, and between the pillars all around the building were marble statues that looked most lifelike, though the clear glass of the lofty windows Through the clear glass of the lofty windows, one could see into the splendid halls, with their costly silks hanging and tapestries. I'm sorry, I've got a burp in my throat. I'm trying to, hold on. Okay, there we go. The burp's gone. I can actually talk now. Okay, I'm sorry. Through the clear glass of the lofty windows, one could see into the splendid halls, with their costly silk hangings and tapestries and walls covered with paintings that were delightful to behold. In the center of the main hall, a large fountain played its columns of spray up to the glass-domed roof, through which the sun shone down on the water and upon the lovely plants that grew in a big basin. Now she knew where he lived. Many an evening and many a night she spent there in the sea. She swam much closer to the shore than any of her sisters would dare to venture. She even went far up a narrow stream, under the splendid marble balcony that cast its long shadow in the water. Here she used to sit and watch the young prince when he thought to himself quite alone in the bright moonlight. On many evenings she saw him sail out in his fine boat, with music playing and flags aflutter. She would peep out through the green rushes, and if wind blew her long silver veil, anyone who saw it mistook it for the swan spreading its wings. On many nights she saw the fishermen come out to sea with their torches and heard them tell about how kind the young prince was. This made her proud to think it was she who saved his life when he was buffeted about, half dead among the waves, and she thought how softly his head had rested on her breast, and how tenderly she had kissed him, though he knew nothing of this, nor could he even dream of it. Increasingly, she grew to like the human beings, and more she longed to live among them. Their world seemed so much wider than her own, for they could skim over the sea in ships and mount up into lofty high peaks over the clouds, and their lands stretched out in woods and fields farther than the eye could see. There was so much she wanted to know. Her sisters could not answer all her questions, so she asked her old grandmother, who knew about the upper world, which was what she said was the right name of the countries above the sea. "If men aren't drowned," the little mermaid asked, "do they live on forever? Don't they die as we do here in the sea?" "Yes," the old lady said. "They too must die. Their lifetimes are even shorter than ours. We can live to be 300 years old, but when we perish, we turn into mere foam on the sea and haven't even a grave down here among our dear ones. We have no immortal soul, no life hereafter. We are like the green seaweed, once cut down, it never regrows again. Human beings, on the contrary, have a soul that lives forever, long after their bodies have turned to clay. It rises through the thin air, up to the shining stars, just as we rise through the water to see the lands on earth, so men rise up to beautiful places unknown, which we shall never see. Why weren't we given an immortal soul?" the little mermaid asked. "I would gladly give up my 300 years if I could be a human being only for a day, and later share in that heavenly realm." "But you mustn't think about that," said the old lady. "We fare much more happily and are much better off than the folk up there." "Then I must also die and float as foam upon the sea, not hearing the music of the waves, and seeing the beautiful flowers nor the red sun. Can't I do anything at all to win an immortal soul?" "No," her grandmother answered, "not unless a human being loved you so much that you meant more to him than his father and mother. If his every thought and his whole heart cleaved to you, that he would let a priest join his right hand to yours, and would promise to be faithful here and throughout all eternity, then his soul would dwell in your body, and you would share in the happiness of mankind. He would give you a soul, and yet keep his own, but that can never come to pass. This very thing that is your greatest beauty here in sea, your fishtail, will be considered ugly on land. They have such poor taste to be thought beautiful there. You have to have two awkward props that they call legs. Ugh, hideous legs. How dare they? Legs? Really? Legs? Who wants to have legs? Really, who? Legs. Hideous things. Hideous. Do turtles have soul? Yes, we have souls. We have souls, my troopa. We have souls. And once our souls expire, we shall also go up and rise up, and we shall all be together one more day. We'll be together, even if we separate. Imagine having legs. Oh my goodness, isn't that terrible? Good thing we don't have legs, right? I mean, right? The little mermaid sighed and looked unhappily at her fishtail. "Come, let us be gay." She said gay. I know, gay means happy, for those of you that don't know. In olden speak, the old lady said, "Let us leap and bound throughout the 300 years that we have to live. Surely that is time and to spare, and afterwards we shall be glad enough to rest in our graves. We are holding a court ball this evening. This was a much more glorious affair than is ever to be seen on earth. The walls and ceiling of the great ballroom were made of massive but transparent glass. Many hundreds of huge red roses and grass-green shells stood on each side in the rows, with the blue flames that burned in each shell illuminating the whole room and shining through the walls so clearly it was quite bright in the sea outside. You could see the countless fish, great and small, swimming towards the glass walls. On some of them, the scales gleamed purplish red, while others were silver and gold. Across the floor in the hall ran a wide stream of water, and upon this the mermaids and mermen danced to their own entrancing songs. Such beautiful voices are not to be heard among the people who live on land. The little mermaid sang more sweetly than anyone else, and everyone applauded her. For a moment, her heart was happy, because she knew she had the loveliest voice of all, in the sea or on the land. But her thoughts soon strayed to the world above. She could not forget the charming prince, nor her sorrows that she did not have an immortal soul like his. Therefore, she stole out of her father's place, and while everything there was song and gladness, she sat sadly in her own little garden. Let me take another sip. I'm sorry. I'm so thirsty. This is working me up a drink appetite. Okay, so let's continue. Then she heard a bugle call through the water, and she thought, that must mean he is sailing up there. He whom I love more than my father or mother. He whom I am always thinking of, in whose hands I would so willingly trust my lifelong happiness. I dare do anything to win him and to gain an immortal soul. While my sisters are dancing here in my father's palace, I shall visit the sea witch of whom I have always been so afraid. Perhaps she will be able to advise me and help me. Do you think it's a good idea to go to the sea witch? Do you think that is a wise idea? Is it? Do you think? I mean, should she what? I think it sounds like a bad idea. Bad idea, probably. But we'll continue. I mean, I wouldn't make a deal with the sea hag, but I mean, she might get cool powers. She may just get leg flappers. We'll see what happens. The little mermaid set out from her garden towards the whirlpools that raged in front of the witch's dwelling. She had never gone that way before. No flowers grew there, nor any seaweed. Bare and gray, the sands extended to the whirlpools, where the roaring mill wheels, the waters whirled and snatched everything within their reach down to the bottom of the sea. Between these tumultuous whirlpools, she had to thread her way to reach the witch's waters, and then, for a long stretch, the only trail lay through a hot, seething mire, which the witch called her peat marsh. Beyond it, her house lay in the middle of a weird forest, where all the trees and shrubs were polyps, half animal and half plant. They looked like 100-headed snakes growing out of the soil. All their branches were long and slimy arms with fingers like wriggling worms. They swarmed joint by joint from the roots to their outermost tentacles, and whatever they could lay hold of, they twined around and never let go. The little mermaid was terrified and stopped at the edge of the forest. Her heart thumped with fear. Ba-bum, ba-bum. That's a little silly, mate. A little silly of a sound to make, and she nearly turned back, but then she remembered the prince and the souls that men have. She summoned her courage. She bound her long flowing locks closely to her head so that the polyps could not catch hold of them, folded her arms across her breasts, and darted through the water like a fish. In among the slimy polyps that stretched out their wriggling arms and fingers to seize her, she saw that every one of them held something that it caught with hundreds of their little tentacles, and to which it clung with strong hoops of steel. The white bones of men who had perished at sea and sunk to the depths could be seen in the polyps' arms. ships' rudders and seamen's chests. Seamen. And the skeletons of land animals that had also fallen into their clutches. But the most ghastly sight of it all was a little mermaid whom they had caught and strangled. She reached a large muddy clearing in the forest, where big, fat water snakes slithered about, showing their foul, yellowish bellies. In the middle of this clearing was a house built of bones of shipwrecked men. There sat a sea witch, letting a toad eat out of her mouth, just as we might feed sugar to the little canary bird. She called the ugly, fat water little snakes her little chickabiddies, and let them crawl and sprawl about her spongy bosom. Spongy bosom. I know exactly what you want, said the sea witch. It is very foolish of you, but just the same, you shall have your way, for it will bring you grief, my proud princess. You want me to get rid of your fishtail, and to have 2 props instead, so that you can walk about like a human creature, and have the young prince fall in love with you, and win him and an immortal soul besides. At this, the witch gave such a loud, cackling laugh that the toad and snakes were shaken to the ground, where they lay writhing. You are just in time, said the witch. After the sun comes up tomorrow, a whole year would have gone by before I could be of any help to you. I shall compound you a draught, and before sunrise you must swim to the shore with it, and seat yourself on dry land and drink this draught down. Then your tail will divide and shrink until it becomes what the people on earth call a pair of shapely legs. But it will hurt. It will feel as if a sharp sword slashed through you. Everyone who sees you will say that you are the most graceful human being that they have ever laid eyes on, for you will keep your gliding movement. No dancer will be able to tread as lightly as you, but every step you take will feel as if you were treading upon knife blades so sharp that blood must flow. I am willing to help you, but are you willing to suffer this? That would be very painful. Very, very painful. Oof. Yes, the little mermaid said in a trembling voice, as she thought of the prince and gaining a human soul. Remember, said the witch, once you've taken a human form, you can never become a mermaid again. You can never come back through the waters to your sisters or to your father's palace. If you do not win the love of the prince so completely that, for your sake, he forgets his father and mother and cleaves to you his every thought and his whole heart and lets the priest join your 2 hands in marriage, then you will win no immortal soul. If he marries someone else, your heart will break on the very next morning and you will become foam of the sea. I shall take that risk. Nina, no, Nina, no, Nina, don't do it, don't do it. Nina, don't do it. Please, Nina. Don't become like that. I shall take that risk, said the little mermaid, but she turned, as pale as death. Also, you will have to pay me, said the witch, and it is no trifling price that I'm asking. You have the sweetest voice of anyone down here at the bottom of the sea, and while I don't doubt you would like to captivize the prince with it, you must suffer in a drought. I must pour my own blood in it and make it. What? Excuse me, what? Okay, let's see. Let me start this over. Also, you will have to pay me, said the witch, and it is no trifling price that I'm asking. You have the sweetest voice of anyone down here at the bottom of the sea, and while I don't doubt you would like to captivize the prince with it, you must give this voice to me. I will take the very best thing you have in return for my sovereign draught. I must pour my own blood in it to make... I don't understand this part. Into it to make the drink as sharp as a 2-edged sword. But if you take my voice, said the little mermaid, what will be left to me? Your lovely form, the witch told her, your gliding movements, and your eloquent eyes. With these you can easily enchant a human heart. But you have lost your courage, sticking out your tongue, and I shall cut it off. Stick out your tongue, and I shall cut it off. I'll have my price, and you shall have your potent draught. Go ahead, said the little mermaid. The witch hung her cauldron over the flames to brew the draught. Cleanliness is a good thing, she said, as she tied her snakes in a knot and scoured the bottom of a pot with them. What? What? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. So, she scoured the bottom of the pot with the snakes. Steam... Then she pricked herself in the chest and let her black blood splish into the cauldron. Steam whirled up from it in such ghastly shapes that anyone would have been terrified by them. The witch constantly threw new ingredients into the cauldron, and it started to boil with a sound like that of a crocodile shedding tears. When the draught was ready at last, it looked as clear as the purest water. Here is your draught, said the witch, and she cut off the tongue of the little mermaid, who was now dumb and could neither sing nor talk. If the polyp should pounce you on, I'm just like, why she cut off her tongue? She cut off her freaking tongue, Jesus Christ. If the polyp should pounce you on your walk back through my woods, the witch said, just spill a drop of this brew on them, and their tentacles will break in 1,000 pieces. And there was no need for that, for the polyps curled up in terror as soon as they saw the bright draught. It glittered in the little mermaid's hand as if it were a shining star. So she soon traversed the woods, the marsh, and the place of raging whirlpools. She could see her father's place. The lights had been snuffed out in the great ballroom, and doubtless everyone in the palace was asleep. But she dared not to go near them, now that she was stricken dumb and was leaving her home forever. Her heart felt as if it would break with grief. She tiptoed into the garden, took one flower from each of her sister's little plots, blew 1,000 kisses towards the palace, and then mounted up through the dark blue sea. She's gonna go. It's a little sad now, I'm not gonna lie. But she could see her. The sun had not yet risen when she saw the prince's palace. As she climbed his splendid marble staircase, the moon was shining clear. The little mermaid swallowed the bitter, fiery draught, and it was as if a two-edged sword struck through her frail body. She swooned away and lay there as if she were dead. But the sun rose over the sea. She awoke and felt a flash of pain, but directly in front of her stood the handsome young prince, gazing at her with his coal black eyes. Lowering her gaze, she saw that her fishtail was gone, and she had the loveliest pair of white legs any young maid could hope to have. But she was naked, so she clothed herself in her long hair. The prince asked who she was and how she came to be here. Her deep blue eyes looked at him tenderly, but very sadly, for she could not speak. Then he took her hand and led her into his palace. Every footstep felt as if she was walking on blades and points of sharp knives, just as the witch had foretold, but she gladly endured it. She moved as lightly as a bubble as she walked beside the prince. He and all who saw her marveled at the grace of her gliding walk. Once clad in the rich silk and muslin garments that were provided for her, she was the loveliest person in all the palace, though she was dumb and could neither sing nor speak. Beautiful slaves, attired in silk and cloth of gold, came before to sing before the prince and his royal parents. I need to sip. I'm getting thirsty. Bro, can you give me a wheelchair? I mean, she could, write it down, but I don't think they teach them to write in the sea, I guess. This is very different from the Disney version. Yeah, slaves. Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Yeah, let's, whew, slaves. Okay. One of them sang more sweetly than all the others. When the prince smiled at her and clapped his hands, the little mermaid felt very unhappy, for she knew that herself used to sing much more sweetly. Oh, she thought, if only he knew that I parted with my voice forever so that I could be near him. Graceful slaves now began to dance to the most wonderful music. Then the little mermaid lifted her shapely white arms, rose above on the tiptoes of her feet, and skimmed over the floor. No one could have ever danced so well. Each movement set off her beauty to better and better advantage, and her eyes spoke more directly to the heart than any of the singing slaves could do. She charmed everyone, and especially the prince, who called her his dear little foundling. She danced time and again, though every time she touched the floor, she felt as if she were treading on sharp-edged steel. The prince said he would keep her with him always, and that she was to have a velvet pillow to sleep on outside his door. What? Hey, I like you. Hey, I like you. You know what? I'm gonna get you a velvet pillow to sleep on outside of my door like my dog. What is wrong with this prince? What is wrong with him? That's like a dog pillow. That is quite literally a dog pillow. Quite literally a dog pillow. Yes, Prince is an S. Prince is an S. S, but also an S-H-I-T. She's, oh God. What a piece of shit. Okay. Weird kink, but okay. I mean, yeah, she cut out her tongue to live with him, and he says you can sleep on a pillow. I don't care if it's velvet. He could give her velvet bed sheets or something, but not. This is like an ultimate game. It is. In an ultimate game, that is exactly what they do. And I could probably find one where he makes her sleep on a pillow. I think I remember reading an ultimate fan fiction one time where the guy makes her do that. I'm fairly certain I remember an ultimate fan fiction like that. Okay, so let's see. Where was I at? Okay, he had a page's suit made for her so that she could go with him on horseback. They would ride through the sweet-scented woods where the green burrows brushed her shoulders and where the songbirds sang, among the fluttering leaves. She climbed up high mountains with the prince, and though her tender feet bled so that all could see it, she only laughed and followed him on until they could see the clouds driving far below like a flock of birds in flight to distant lands. At home, in the prince's palace, while the others slept at night, she would go down the broad marble steps, cool her burning feet in the cold sea water, and then she would recall those who lived beneath sea. One night her sisters came by, arm in arm, singing sadly as they breasted the waves. When she held out her hands towards them, they knew who she was and told her how unhappy she had made them all. They came to see her every night after that. Once far, far out to sea, she saw her old grandmother, who had not been up to the surface this many a year. With her was the Sea King, with his crown upon his head. They stretched out their hands to her. They did not venture near the land, so near the land as her sisters had. Day after day, she would become more dear to the prince, who loved her as one would love a good little child. But he never thought of making her his queen. Oh, no. Damn, sis, you live like this? Damn, sis, you live with those leg danglers? Oh, this is not going somewhere good. Oh, no. Nope. Okay. It's not gonna go good. Not gonna end good. Ooh, okay. Yet she had to be his wife, or she would never have an immortal soul, and on the morning after his wedding, she would turn into foam on the waves. Don't you love me best of all? The little mermaid's eyes seemed to question him when he took her in his arms and kissed her lovely forehead. Yes, "You are most dear to me," said the prince, "for you have the kindest heart. You love me more than anyone else does, and you look so much like a young girl I once saw, but shall never find again. I was on a ship that wrecked, and the waves cast me ashore near a temple where many young girls performed the rituals. The youngest of them found me beside the sea and saved my life, though I saw her no more than twice. She was the only person in the world whom I could love. But you are so much like her that you almost replace the memory of her in my heart. She belongs to that holy temple, therefore it is my good fortune that I have you, and we shall never be apart." Oh, Jesus. She's getting cucked. She's, ah. Jesus Christ. I mean, oh, God, I just can't. This reminds me of what show did I watch recently where it had a similar thing where it's like, "Bitch, just tell him that's you. Just tell him that is you." And she was like, "No, I can't tell him now. I can't tell him now." What was that show? What was that show? Was it an otome or something I was watching? Like a shoujo? I think it was a shoujo where the girl, like, I think it was like something like, 50 kg. No, something like 80 kg or something, Cinderella, where it was about a girl who, like, was kind of chubby, but and she met this guy on a job interview who's like the CEO of a company, and he really liked her chubby, and he was like, "Man, I really miss that cute chubby girl." And then she thought, like, "Oh, I'll lose weight to date him," but it turns out he liked her chubby more, and now she doesn't tell him that she's chubby, and I wish he would just tell her that, because why would it matter? Don't stop being so shallow. He's not that shallow. Just tell him. Okay, so anyway, alas, he doesn't know. It was I who saved his life, the little mermaid thought. I carried him over the sea to the garden where the temple stands. I hid behind the foam and watched to see if anyone would come. I saw the pretty maid he loves better than me. The sigh was the only sign of her deep distress, for a mermaid cannot cry. He says that the other maid belongs to the holy temple. She will never come out into the world, so they will never see each other again. It is I who will care for him, who love him, and give all my life to him. Now rumors arose that the prince was wed to the beautiful daughter of the neighboring king, and that it was for this reason he is having such a superb ship made, ready to sail. The rumor ran that the prince's real interest in visiting the neighboring kingdom was to see the king's daughter, and that he was to travel with a lordly retinue? Retinue? I think. I don't know. I don't know big words. I don't know. I'm not well read. Okay, anyway, yeah. Okay, let's see. Retinue? The little mermaid shook her head and smiled, for she knew the prince's thoughts far better than anyone else. "I am forced to make this journey," he told her. "I must visit the beautiful princesses, for this is my parents' wish. But they would not have me bring her home as my bride against my will, and I can never love her. She does not resemble the lovely maiden in the temple as you do, and if I were to choose a bride, I would have sooner chose you, my dear mute fondling with those telling eyes of yours." He kissed her on the mouth and fingered her long hair. You thought it was going somewhere else with that, weren't you? And laid his head against her heart so that she came to dream of the mortal happiness and have an immortal soul. "I trust you aren't afraid of the sea, my silent child," he said, as they went on board the magnificent vessel that was to carry them to the land of the neighboring king. And he told her stories of storms, of ships becalmed, of strange deep fish, and of wonders that divers have seen. She smiled at such stories, for no one knew about the bottom of the sea as well as she did. This isn't going to end well, is this? In the clear moonlight, when everyone except the man at the helm was asleep, she sat on the side of the ship, gazing down through the transparent water, and fancied she could catch a glimpse of her father's palace. On the topmost tower, she stood she stood, her old grandmother wearing a silver crown, looking up at the keel of the ship through the rushing waves. Then her sisters rose to the surface and looked at her sadly and wrung their white hands. She smiled and waved, trying to let them know that all went well and that she was happy. But along came to the cabin boy, and her sisters dived out of the sight so quickly that the boy supposed the flash of white he seen had been merely foam at the sea. The next morning the ship came to the harbor of the neighboring king's glorious city. All the church bells chimed, and trumpets were sounded from the highest towers. I gotta drink more. No more tea. No more tea. Hold on. I got water. It's okay. What hair are we talking about here? You know what hair. Okay. Let's see. All the church bells chimed and trumpets were sounded from all the high towers, while the soldiers lined up with flying banners and glittering bayonets. Every day had new festivity as one ball or levee followed another, but the princesses were still to appear. They said she was being brought up in some faraway sacred temple where she was learning every royal virtue, but she came at last. The little mermaid was curious to see how beautiful this princess was, and she had to grant that a far more exquisite figure she had never seen. Sorry, I'm butchering some of these sentences. I don't mean to. No martini. Unfortunately, no martini. Shaken, not stirred. You know what? We gotta hope. Maybe this is gonna end well. Okay? Oh no, this is not gonna end well. Oh dear God, no, this is not gonna end well. Oh God. Yeah, this is not gonna end well. Oh Jesus. No, I looked at the page. Okay. 8 legs, 7 vaginas. Okay. The princess's skin was clear and fair, and behind the long dark lashes, her deep blue eyes were smiling and devoted. "It was you!" the prince cried. "You were the one who saved me when I lay like a dead man beside sea." He clapped the blushing bride of his choice in his arms. "Oh, I am happier than a man should be," he told his little mermaid. "My fondest dream, that which I dared to hope you will share in my greatest joy, for you love me more than anyone else does." Wait, what? What? Wait, what? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh. Oof. That is bad. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Oh God. Thank you, Ninja Guy Dan. Book. This is not going well. Okay. The little mermaid kissed his hand and felt that her heart was beginning to break, for the morning after his wedding day would see her dead and turned to watering foam. All the church bells rang out, and heralds rode through the streets to announce the wedding. Upon every altar, the sweet scented oils were burned in costly silver lamps. The priests swung their censers. The bride and bridegroom, just call him a groom. The bride and bridegroom. Oh, yes, I'm the bride, and here is my bridegroom. Not just a groom, but he's a bridegroom. Fuck Christ, the prince is a dick bridegroom. Dick-ass bridegroom. When aboard the ship, cannons thundered and banners waved. On the deck of the ship, a royal pavilion of purple and gold was set up and furnished with luxurious cushions. Here the wedded couple were to sleep on that calm and clear night. The sails swelled in the breeze, and the ship glided so lightly that it scarcely seemed to move over the quiet sea. All the nightfall brightly colored lanterns were lighted, and the mariners merrily danced on the deck. The little mermaid could not forget that the first time she rose from the depths of the sea and looked at such pomp and happiness, light as a swallow pursued by his enemies, she joined in the whirling dance. Everyone cheered her, for never had she danced so wonderfully. Her tender feet felt as if they were pierced by daggers, but she did not feel it. Her heart suffered far greater pain. She knew that this was the last evening that she would ever see him, for she had forsaken her home and family for. For she who had sacrificed her lovely voice and suffered such constant torment, while he knew nothing of all these things. It was the last night that she would breathe the same air as him, or look upon deep waters, or star fields of the blue skies. And never-ending night, without thought or without dreams, awaited her who had no soul and could not get one. The merrymaking lasted long after midnight, and she laughed and danced on despite the thought of death she carried in her heart. The prince kissed his beautiful bride, and she toyed with his coal-black hair. Hand in hand, they went to rest in the magnificent pavilion. A hush came over the ship. Only the helmsman remained on deck as the little mermaid leaned her white arms over on the bulwarks and looked into the east to see the first red hint of daybreak, for she knew that the first flash of the sun would strike her dead. Then she saw her sisters rise up among the waves. They were as pale as she, and there was no sign of their lovely long hair that the breezes used to blow. It had all been cut off. "We have given our hair to the witch," they said, "so that she would send you help and save you from death tonight. She gave us a knife. Here it is. See the sharp blade. Before the sun rises, you must strike it into the prince's heart, and when his warm blood bathes your feet, they will grow together and become a fish's tail. Then you will be a mermaid again, able to come back to us in the sea and live out your 300 years before you die and turn into dead sea salt foam. Make haste. He or you must die before sunrise. Our old grandmother is so grief-stricken that her white hair is falling so fast, just as ours did under the witch's scissors. Kill the prince and come back to us. Hurry! Hurry! See that red glow in the heavens. In a few minutes the sun will rise and you must die." So saying, they gave a strange, deep sigh and sank beneath the waves. The little mermaid parted the purple curtains of the tent and saw the beautiful bride asleep with her head on the prince's breast. The mermaid bent down and kissed his shapely forehead. She looked at the sky, fast and reddening, for the break of day. She looked at the sharp knife again and turned her eyes towards the prince, who in his sleep murmured the name of his bride. His thoughts were all for her, and the knife blade trembled in the mermaid's hand. But then she flung it from her, far out over the water waves. Where it fell, the waves were red, as if bubbles of blood seethed in the water. With eyes already glazing over, she looked over once more at the prince, hurled herself over the bulwarks into the sea, and felt her body dissolve into foam. Oh, God. He's dead now. Ooh. Oh, God. That was not happy. Okay. The sun rose up from the waters. Its beams fell, warm and kindly, upon the chill sea foam, and the little mermaid did not feel the hand of death. In the bright sunlight overhead, she saw hundreds of fair, ethereal beings. They were so transparent that transparent that through them she could see the ship's white sails and the red clouds in the skies. Their voices were sheer music, but so spirit-light that no human ear could detect the sound, just as no eye on earth could see their forms. Without wings, they floated as light as the air itself. The little mermaid discovered that she was shaped like them, and that she was gradually rising up out of the foam. "Who are you, towards whom I rise?" she asked. Her voice sounded like those above her, so spiritual that no music on earth could match it. "We are the daughters of the air," they answered. A mermaid has no immortal soul and can never get one unless she wins the love of human being. Her eternal life must depend on a power outside herself. The daughter of air do not have an immortal soul either, but they can earn one by their good deeds. We fly to the south, where the hot poisonous air kills human beings unless we bring cool breezes. We carry the scent of flowers through the airs, bringing freshness and a healing balm wherever we go. When for 300 years we have tried to do all the good we can, we are given an immortal soul and share in mankind's eternal bliss. You, poor little mermaid, have tried with your heart to do this. Your suffering and your loyalty have raised you up into the realm of airy spirits, and now, in the course of 300 years, you may earn by your good deeds a soul that will never die. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, odds and end. Big ups. Can we get an F in the chat for the mermaid? Yes, I agree. We need a big F. She tried so hard, but she's at least getting a redemption of sorts. The little mermaid lifted her clear, bright eyes towards the god's sun, and for the first time her eyes were wet with tears. On board the ship, all was astir and lively again. She saw the prince and his fair bride in search of her. Then they gazed sadly into the seething foam as if they knew she had hurled herself into the waves. Unseen by them, she kissed the bride's forehead, smiled upon the prince, and rose with the other daughters of the air to the rose-red skies, clouds that sailed on high. This is the way that we shall rise to the kingdom of God after 300 years have passed. We may even get there sooner, one spirit whispered. Unseen, we fly into the homes of men, where there are children, and for every day on which we find a good child who pleases his parents and deserves their love, God shortens our days of trial. The child does not know when we float through their room, but when we smile at him in approval, 1 year is taken from our 300. And if we see a naughty, mischievous child, we must shed tears of sorrow, and each tear adds a day to the time of our trial. So, look for good boys, but not bad boys. Good boys, not bad boys. Good boys, not bad boys. But yes, that was a little sad. But you know, at least he had a better ending. No, don't be bad. Don't be bad. You'll make them go on more. Yeah, you gotta be a good trooper. You gotta be a good trooper. Gotta be a good one. But yes, we will before we get into our next story, let's get you a little bit more comfy, okay? So let's remove our blankets, okay? And then we're just gonna get a little bit more comfy here. Why don't you just get on my lap, okay? Okay, here we are. You're on my lap. You're gonna nap on my lap. I'm gonna pat your head and go, coochie, coochie. They're there. They're there. There we go. Nap, nap. Nap, nap, nap. There we go. I wasn't expecting the Little Mermaid to be so long, but now it is. Yes, I do have many siblings. But anyway, let's continue. Next I will do, let's see. Let me switch books real quick. We'll do Rapunzel. We're going to read Rapunzel now. Okay? Maybe this will be happier. I did not know the story. I've not read any of these classic fairy tales, so that was a big surprise to me, and that really that cut me deep, not gonna lie. That cut me deep, and I am very disappointed in that. I wish she had, gotten her happy ending with the priest, but she didn't. And, I wish, it was, it had ended better. But yeah, that's, little extreme. I mean, I guess, it's, I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, Rapunzel. There were once a man and a woman who had long in vain wished for a child. At length the woman hoped that God was about to grant her this desire. These people had a little window at the back of their house from which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into it because it belonged to an enchantress named Dame Gothel, who had a great power and was dreaded by all the world. One day, the woman was standing by this window and looking down into the garden when she saw a bed which was planted with the most beautiful rampion, Rapunzel. I believe rampion means Rapunzel. And it looked so fresh and green that she longed for it, and had the greatest desire to eat some. This desire increased every day as she knew she could not get any of it. She quite pined away and looked pale and miserable. Then her husband was alarmed and asked, "What ails you, my dear wife?" "Ah," she replied, "if I could get some of the rampion, which is in the garden behind our house, I shall die." The man, who loved her, thought, "Sooner than let your wife die, bring her some of the rampion yourself. Let it cost you what it will." In the twilight of the evening, he clambered down over the wall into the garden of the enchantress, hastily clutched a handful of rampion, and took it to his wife. She at once made herself a salad of it, and ate it with much delight. She, however, liked it so much, so very much, that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much. If he was to have any rest, her husband must once more descend into the garden. She's kinda a little selfish. I mean, a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, she's like, "Go, get me vegetables. Get me vegetables. You get no rest. You get no rest." Okay, anyway. So, well, hi. Yeah, I think she will get her comeuppance, perhaps. I guess it is cravings, yes. Let's see. In the gloom of evening, there he let himself down again. But when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the enchantress standing before him. "How can you dare," she said with an angry look, "to descend into my garden and steal my rampion like a thief? You shall suffer for it." "Ah," he answered, "let mercy take the place of justice. I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your rampion from the window and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had not gotten some to eat of it." The enchantress allowed her anger to be softened and said to him, "If the case be as you say, I will allow you to take away with you as much rampion as you will. Only I make one condition. You must give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. It shall be well treated, and I shall care for it like a mother." Okay, you can have vegetables, but I'm gonna take your kid. I'm gonna take your offspring. But you can have as many veggies as you want. You can make as many salads as you want. Make as many salads. Just have all the salads. But I'm gonna take your kid. That's my baby. That's my baby now. My baby. So, yes. Veggie for baby. The man, in his terror, consented to everything, and when the woman gave birth, the enchantress appeared at once, gave the child the name Rapunzel, and took it away with her. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child beneath the sun. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shut her into a tower which lay in the forest, and had neither stairs nor door, but quite at the top was a little window. When the enchantress wanted to go in, she placed herself beneath it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down to me." Rapunzel had magnificent long hair, fine as spun gold, and when she heard the voice of the enchantress, she unfastened her braided tresses, wound them round one of the hooks of the window above, and then the hair fell 20 eels, and the enchantress climbed up by it. After a year or two, it came to pass that the king's son rode through the forest and went by the tower. Then he heard a song which was so charming that he stood still and listened. This was Rapunzel, who was in her solitude, past her time, letting her sweet voice resound. The king's son wanted to climb up to her and looked for the door of the tower, but none was to be found. He rode home, but the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day he went out into the forest and listened to it. Once, when he was thus standing behind a tree, he saw that an enchantress came there, and he heard her as she cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then Rapunzel let down the braids of her hair, and the enchantress climbed out to her. "If this is the ladder by which one mounts, I will at once try my fortune," he said, and the next day it began to grow dark, and he went to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Immediately the hair fell down, and the king's son climbed up. At first Rapunzel was terribly frightened when a man, such as her eyes had never yet beheld, came to her. But the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend, and told her that his heart had been so stirred it had let him have no rest, and he had been forced to see her. The Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked if she would take him for her husband, she saw that he was young and handsome. She thought, "He will love me more than old Dame Gothel loves me." And she said yes, and laid her hands in his. She said, "I will willingly go away with you, but I do not know how to get it down. Bring with you a skein of silk every time you come, and I will weave a ladder with it, and when it is ready I will descend, and you will come take me on your horse." What could go wrong here? What could go wrong? They agreed that until that time he should come to her every evening, for the old woman came by day. The enchantress remarked nothing of this. Once Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, Dame Gothel, how it happens that you are so much heavier for me to draw up than the king's son. He is with me hardly a minute." "Ah, you wicked child," cried the enchantress. "What did I hear you say? I thought I separated you from the world, and yet you have deceived me." In her anger, she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful tresses, wrapped them twice round her left hand, and seized a pair of scissors with her right, and snip, snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she had so pity as she had, sorry, I need a sip of water. I'm getting a little thirsty. Okay, anyway. On the same day, she cast out... I'm sorry, I lost my place. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel in a desert where she had to live in great grief and misery. On the same day that she cast out Rapunzel, the enchantress fastened the braids of hair that which she kept onto the hook of the window, and in the evening when the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," she let the hair down. The king's son ascended, but he did not find his dearest Rapunzel above, but the enchantress, who gazed at him with wicked and venomous looks. "Aha!" she cried mockingly. "You would fetch your dearest, but the beautiful bird sits no longer singing in this nest. The cat has got it, and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is so lost to you, and you will never see her more." The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns into which he fell pierced his eyes. Then he wandered quite blind about the forest, ate nothing but roots and berries, and did nothing but lament and weep over the loss of his dearest wife. Thus he roamed about in misery for some years, and at length came to the desert where Rapunzel, with the twins in which she had given birth, a boy and a girl, lived in wretchedness. They got it on their first date, and she got pregnant with twins? Nice. Like she banged this dude the first day she met him. Okay, anyway. Lived in wretchedness. He heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it. And when he approached, Rapunzel knew him and embraced him and wept. 2 of her tears wetted his eyes, and they began to grow clear again, and he could see with them as before. He led her to his kingdom, where he was joyfully received, and they lived for a long time afterwards, happily and contented. That actually ended pretty happy, though. That ended pretty happy, I think. I can't complain too much, you know? I think that ended pretty good. I think I'm gonna leave off there because my throat is getting a little bit sore from this, so I'm gonna stop if that's okay. But I hope you all had a good time. I hope you had a nice, soothing story. But yeah, my throat's a little worn now. Yes, the witch is still alive. That's true. But yes, I will see you on Saturday, and I will be doing a collab with Penelope Parabellum, and we will be playing Resident Evil 6 co-op on Leon's route. So I hope you all look forward to it. But anyway, I'm going to go get a lozenge and have some tea. So otsukupa, otsukame-sama, have a good night, good evening, good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever it is. But yes, otsukupa. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. I hope you were comfy.